Greetings and salutations. We are picking up where we left off on the Diablo II Hardcore 1 Talent Challenge. I should not have taken the portal. I am a fool. Shows exactly how much I remembered. And the funny part is I literally went from recording the previous episode, poured myself a cup of coffee, started recording this episode, and I had already forgotten that the portal was in the Flare dungeon, and I took the waypoint back. So, just goes to show you, short-term memory is not all it's cracked up to be. Now, I was watching a YouTube video not too long ago. It was about this guy doing ukiyo-e art, right? If you don't know what ukiyo-e art is, it's the old Japanese style block printing, right? Where they get out the watercolors and they put it on the, they put the watercolors on the blocks. They first water the blocks, but it's a whole process. And as he's doing this block printing, I noticed something, that this guy takes extreme care in this ukiyo-e art. And of course, being a Japanese piece of art, obviously they would, because they revere a lot of what they do. But I got to thinking, could they do something like that here in the United States? Is it possible for the United States to come to a point where they have reverence for a culture, which then delves deeper into the question: does the United States really have a culture? At which point, we have what I would say is a pseudo culture. I mean, we have the Hollywood culture, which I wouldn't call a culture. The Hollywood culture is. I've seen more culture in a petri dish, truthfully, than in Hollywood. So, what would be the United States' real culture if you had to, really take a look at it? And the only thing that I could keep coming back to is Native American culture. The aquamarine belts and everything that they made, and they traded away for rifles and, other products. That's the only thing I could keep coming up with is effectively, the Native American crafts and the Native American care and quality they put into making their goods, whether it be leather goods, beaded goods, jeweled goods, anything like that. Really, just you can see the effort they put in, and it's really good folk art. Like, if you've never seen it, go to a reservation sometime and see some of their really good folk art. Their carvings, their blanket making, their basket weaving, just some of the really good folk art stuff. And it's like, why don't we have reverence for that culture? And why don't we take it with such reverence? Because it's something that's uniquely here. I mean, if you think about it, right, you can look at Persian rugs from the Arabic empires way back in the day, and people love those things. The Persian rugs and all the high quality Arabic empire accoutrement, right? The French has, pardon me, the French has their wines and cheeses and other artwork that they've done over the years. And I got to thinking, each nation on this planet has obviously something to add in terms of something in the way of art, per se. And I think it would be a really good, or a noble gesture, I would say, to find out what it is about the culture that you're in, whether it be Vietnam, Japan, China, Laos, Cambodia, um, Chile, Brazil, it doesn't matter where. You just, point someplace on a map and then find something about that culture that is uniquely theirs and theirs alone. And then hold it in a point of reverence to it being significant to a degree. Like, is it significant in the day-to-day workings of mankind? Well, no, not effectively, no, it's not. But is it something that we should look at with high regard? Yes, because it's something that people invested a large amount of time into and effort. And there are people out there that would trivialize certain things like that. And I don't think that's right. I don't think it's right to trivialize that amount of work. It's like the Sistine Chapel or any of the sculptures. As I was thumbing through an article and they removed the sculpture of Robert E. Lee. Now, obviously people would say, well, the connotations of it are because, the South and slavery. Well, yes, there is those connotations. However, there's other things that people don't understand. The Civil War was actually fought over states' rights. And most people don't know that. They think that the Civil War was fought primarily over slavery. And it wasn't. It was fought over states' rights. And the North wanted more of a federalist, centralized government approach. And the South wanted they wanted a centralized federal branch of government, but they didn't want it to trample upon the individual states having their freedoms. So they wanted the states to have their own constitution and their own laws that superseded federal law, which is what we have today. The actual people, it's a republic. It's a true republic. And they wanted to preserve that as the South did. The thing is when you start getting into that discussion with people, they immediately assume that there was only one reason why the Civil War happened. Now, what happened at the end of the Civil War? Well, each side made concessions, okay? Because in order for them to reunify, there were concessions that had to be made. And some of those concessions were that slavery was to be abolished. However, so was federalism. The federalist idea of having a central federal government that is all-powerful. Because it was antithetical to the Republic. It was setting up a pseudo-monarchical structure. So that's why they did away with it. This is also stuff that people don't look back on and hold in reverence, much like with the statue of Robert E. Lee. They don't look at it as like, this is culturally relevant, right? But once people realize that the states hold more sway than the federal government, it becomes a massive thing because everyone believes that the federal government makes the laws and everybody just follows them. That's not how it works. And I mean, I've gotten it off on a little bit of a political tangent. I try to avoid politics as a whole, but this is more of a people need to know this, right? The federal government makes a law, okay? Let's say the federal government says, oh, we're going to make this one law. Doesn't really matter. Now, here's where issues come into play, all right? First off, does it violate a constitutional amendment? That's first and foremost. Does it violate a federal level constitutional amendment? If not, then you have to ask, does it violate a state level constitutional amendment? Each state has their own constitution. Now, here's where the fun begins. The federal government makes a law. It's a law you don't agree with in your state. And you think, well, there's no way to do this. There's no way to overturn it. But there is. Here's how. Each state has their own individual constitution. The 10th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution states that all non-enumerated constitutional powers are divested to the states, meaning all federal laws that are not, pretty much all federal laws that are not enumerated in the Constitution can be superseded. Essentially meaning, I'm going to use for instance here, I'm going to use a rather overt, vague, for instance. Let's say they ban soft drinks, right? Federal ban on soft drinks. So you're no longer allowed to drink soda, Red Bull, Monster, none of those. No energy drinks whatsoever. They do a federal ban on them, okay? Your state can make a law saying it is legal to consume soft drinks in the state that you live in. So let's say you live in Kansas, right? Your state can say, we're making a state law that says you can drink soft drinks in Kansas. The federal law cannot come in and force that upon the state. That is the state's right. So therefore, the federal government must sit down and shut up. Because that's how jurisdiction works. It works from local to state to federal. Now, in some states, you will have an article in your state constitution. My state has an article in the state constitution. My state's article says all non-enumerated powers of the state are divested further to local governing bodies. Meaning, if the state passes a law that I don't like, I can go to my local governing body and overturn the law by proposing a law to be voted upon by the public, overturning the state's law, and there's nothing the state can do about it. Because the article gave us the power of home rule. As such, we become an autonomous entity. Everybody pretty much has this ability in their governments to do this. So everybody has the power. You can pass a local law that basically thumbs its nose to the federal law, and there's nothing the federal law can do about it. Because your local law says it's not an enumerated constitutional power, therefore it is now divested to the state. So long as your state divests it further to a powers of home rule, you're fine. But that's enough about politics, because I kind of got off track here. I apologize for that. I was originally talking about culture and having reverence for culture. Just like I was talking in the previous one about games being art. And they are in a way. So would a video game be deemed culture as well? Well, anime is kind of a culture, because I was talking about that in the previous episode as well. Oh. My mercenary got shredded. And not in the good way. It's not like he worked out. No, he just got completely annihilated. But it's more along the lines of what constitutes as culture. Anime can be deemed culture because it's culturally relevant to Japan. And now it's heading more of a mainstream thing because they've noticed that a lot of people started watching it. What's this going to do? Well, when anime becomes mainstream, much like anything, starts going into the mainstream, it eventually starts causing a problem. The problem it causes is people start filling it with things that are not true to the culture it came from, that are not rooted in that culture, right? Whether it be, just plot lines, slang terms, anything like that. That weren't naturally occurring in that culture, it's going to ruin the culture that it came from. And it's like, I'm kind of an anime purist, I've watched plenty of them, and I happen to like a lot of anime. In fact, I'm rewatching a few of them because the summer anime has kind of gotten a little. How do I want to put this? Lethargic, for lack of a better term. Well, he's shredded again. I mean, I'm gonna say it's getting a little lethargic in terms of the anime, which it is, to be fair. Like, it's just,
once again.
I don't know. It's not the anime plot lines are good. I'll give them that. The plot lines are really good. But where it's getting lethargic is the amount of anime that exists, and oops, forgot to. So there we go.
Greetings.
The amount of anime that exists and the amount that they're producing. Obviously, they're running out of story. Because, I mean, how many times can you do an isekai anime without it being stale? I mean, there's a couple of them that are really good lately, like No Longer Allowed in This World, etc. So those are really good, but it's a lot of anime are getting stale, realistically, and I hope they can start making more that are really good, or make ones that have a longer run than just 13 episodes or 26 episodes, but nothing like One Piece. Like, One Piece has gone too far. So is Case Closed, to be fair. Both of them are just... It's like, it's time to give them the old Yeller treatment, Take them out to the pasture, give them the old Yeller send off, you know what I mean? Because Battle Staff. Wait, Battle Staff. Cathins? Yeah, Cathins rule. Nice. But no, it's just a lot of, like I said, a lot of anime has just gotten very stale. And I used, like I said, I was using One Piece as a reference here. And I'm probably going to catch a lot of flack for this, but in my personal opinion, I could not get into One Piece. I watched the beginning of it, I watched the first episode, and I'm like, I don't see what would have caused me to stick around past number 1, right? I know that people go completely bonkers for it, but looking at it objectively, you're almost coming up to 1,100 episodes, right? And in those 1,100 episodes, how many of them are actually dealing with the original plot line? And not just filler arcs. And I'm saying this realistically because if you look at it, there's a lot of filler arcs that they have. The plot lines aren't all there. I mean, like, wasn't the plot like him getting one of the pieces of 8, and then like he's on the Grand Line looking for one of the pieces of 8? But yet, it's 1,100 episodes in. Has he found them? I know that they've confirmed that they're real, because I remember seeing somebody say that as one of the spoilers. Not that I really cared to have it spoiled or not. But it's almost like they're trying to milk as much money out of it as humanly possible before, you know, giving it the send off it deserves. Like, take into contrast Bleach, right? Now, people will say, "Oh, well, yeah, there he is. He's a Bleach fanboy." Not necessarily. Bleach had its moments too. I mean, it was getting too long. 380 something episodes is a bit too long, if you ask me. But what Bleach did is it showed that Kubo had integrity, right? Kubo told the Weekly Shonen multiple times basically where to stick it and how far to stick it. Okay? One Piece hasn't done that. One Piece hasn't said, this is my storyline and I'm doing it this way and I don't care what you think. Kubo, with Bleach, said, no, this is exactly how I want the story to end. The Shonen then told him, well, you've got 6 weeks to wrap it up. And then as you're watching the Blood War arc, if you are watching the Blood War arc, this is what he wrapped up the entire Blood War arc in 6 weeks. Try doing that as a manga artist and as a storyteller. You have this long drawn out history of making a good story, but yet you're told, you know what, clean it up, ship it out. You got five or 6 weeks. And Kubo did. He finished the whole manga in 6 weeks. What was funny, though, is the very last episode of Bleach manga, so the very last volume in the Weekly Shonen, had to have a color page, because they usually do like a color page as the last page, and it has to be okayed by the Weekly Shonen. Kubo was having a lot of how do I want to say this politely, creative differences with the Weekly Shonen, the head Weekly Shonen member. Okay, and in those creative differences, Kubo basically said, well, okay, here, this is going to be my color page. And if you've ever watched the anime, you'll know who Aizen is. Aizen's, for those that haven't watched the anime, Sosuke Aizen he has the ability to hypnotize people into believing an alternative reality. And he actually faked his own death that way. Don't worry, not spoiling much, because it doesn't go very long before you realize he actually faked his own death. It's like 2 episodes. However, he has complete hypnosis. Now, the head individual at the Weekly Shonen, Kubo drew the guy at the Weekly Shonen, and behind him he had Aizen standing right behind him with the caption that read, "So you think you've seen the last of Bleach? How interesting." Basically telling the Weekly Shonen, I may not have had, I might not have the spot in the Weekly Shonen anymore, but you haven't seen the last of me yet. I will return. That's effectively what he was telling the head of the Weekly Shonen. And they printed it. They printed that color sheet. I need my mercenary back. And it was great. It took Kubo a while, but he eventually did make another Bleach. I believe, found another producer to produce the show and to produce more manga. But he showed integrity, because the Shonen was the one strong-arming him into making, another 1,100, 1,200 episode series. And he just basically flat out told them no. And in doing so, he angered them. But he stuck to his morals. He basically said, it's my story and I'm going to do it my way. And I have to admire that. Toriyama, Akira Toriyama, who recently died this year, which tragic, yes, but uh, happens all the time. Nobody lives forever. Um, Toriyama made Dragon Ball, and he wanted to end Toriyama himself wanted to end Dragon Ball, or Dragon Ball Z, I should say. He wanted to originally end with just Dragon Ball, with Goku getting married to Chi-Chi and having a kid. And that was the end of it. That was supposed to be the end. Well, popular demand. The fans wrote to him and said, don't end it, we want more. So, he said, okay, fine. And he wrote the entire Namek saga, where Goku travels through space, goes to the planet Namek, and ends up fighting Frieza and dying at the end of the supposedly dying, quote unquote, at the end of the Frieza fight. And it's kind of interesting because ow, that hurt. He never really wanted to end. He didn't want to end with like the Vegeta saga. Ouch. And he didn't want to end. He wanted to end it with the Frieza saga, right? Frieza, the biggest baddie in the universe, is now defeated. Good triumphs, and he wanted to make Gohan the main character, essentially. And with him wanting to make Gohan the main character, it didn't work out. Popular demand crept up again. Cinematic time.
I did as you told me, Tyrael. I found the temple of the Zakarum. In the deepest recesses of the temple, I found a dog gathering. My companion, the Wanderer, Talrasha, and a great evil who could only be the Lord of Hatred himself, Mephisto. I heard a voice that, like 1,000 needles in my heart.
My brothers, at long last we stand reunited. The infernal gate has been prepared, and the time of our final victory is at hand.
That's the voice of Grandpa Tennyson. Same guy. It's got reverb in it, but same guy.
Shall he walk amongst the innocent, and terror shall consume they that dwell upon the earth.
The skies shall rain fire, and the seas will become as blood. The righteous shall fall before the wicked, and all creation shall tremble before the burning standards of hell.
What I saw then was not meant for mortal eyes.
The gate stands ready.
Marius's voice actor's on point. Absolutely on point with that. Like, that dude,
Now, my young
he's
brother,
dead now, but
the time has come to assume
very
your
skilled.
true form. Arise, Diablo, Lord of Terror.
He speak lizard man. Diablo needs to go on a diet. Look at him.
You are the harbinger of our return, Diablo. Send forth your terror into hell.
Such a good... Such good cinematics. Like... It's like, that right there it's insane. The amount of skill, like the voice actor for Marius, for example, absolutely spot on.
Good to the time.
We're gonna pick up our mercenary. Poor dude ate it again. Switch throw. Ooh, chance to block, faster hit recovery, attack speed. It's better than Eisenhart's. I think I'm just gonna sell the Eisenhart's. Probably should sell the Captain's Rule too, come to think of it. So what am I gonna do with them? I am not putting them in my shared stash. I'm gonna die, and when I die, they're gone, so... Oh, it's gonna happen eventually.
What do you
I'm gonna head out here and see if I can find Isuel in a rather rapid fashion. Probably not. Oh boy. Unlike the flesh spawners. There's a challenge for everybody. No, that wouldn't be a challenge for everybody. I mean, realistically, it would be accurate, but at the same time, it would be quite rude if you have like a pregnant wife or something. You look at her and be like, "Hey, you're a flesh spawner from Diablo." Little tiny, flesh worms come out. It's like, you don't want to do that. You don't want to sleep on the couch. You don't want to anger the missus. End up on the couch and be like, "Oh, but honey, he told me to do it." I didn't tell you to do it. I had a thought and then quickly decided that it was a bad idea. It's a joke. It's all in jest. See, one of the hardest parts about doing this as an elemental druid is there's so much stuff in Nightmare that becomes immune to fire, specifically here, that just, you can't do it. Because I tried doing Firestorm on my one druid. Absolutely not. I mean, you have to have, I believe, Molten Boulder by that point. If you're in Nightmare, you have to sink your point into Molten Boulder, because Molten Boulder's got a physical damage. Problem is the Ravens only do physical damage, so... We'll see if I can... I'm going to see if I can get in there and kill Isuel. Not that it's really going to matter, because I can't use the skill points yet. I mean, I love this challenge. I do. I really do. Because it tests your... It tests your knowledge of, like, noticing where you are, noticing the enemies around you, looking for escape routes, watching your... watching a whole bunch of stuff while not trying to die. It's quite interesting. Now, I will say this: I'm not gonna try to portal jockey on Diablo. I'm gonna try to just stick it out and try to do what I can do. But I have a feeling that if I do that, I'm gonna meet my untimely end. But I have noticed though that I didn't portal out with Duriel, I didn't portal out with Mephisto, and I didn't portal out with Endariel, so things are looking up. I'm just hoping it can stay that way, though. I mean, who knows? I mean, this video might run a little long, but it's kind of worth it. I just gotta think what I'm gonna do next. I have to decide on the next class that I want to do, in terms of if I fail. I don't know if I want to try an Amazon or if I want to try Barbarian. I mean, Necromancer seems kind of weak. I don't think the Skeletons are going to have as much damage as the Ravens. I mean, they'll be able to hold a front line, but maybe I should go Poison Dagger on the Necro. Maybe that would be the ticket. Who knows? Well, I found this place, which is the Plains of Despair. I just have to find Isuel. Really? 6 to maximum stamina? That's such a lame... It's like, where's my, where's the good small charms? And I don't mean like the plus to poison damage. Though I do think one thing, instead of what Blizzard did do with their Ravens and everything, because Blizzard just obviously increased the Ravens damage exponentially from old Diablo 2 to this, because they wanted to make more builds viable, so they did some slight changes. I think what they should have done is they should have just had whatever the damage you're doing as a druid carry over to your Ravens, like a damage coefficient carrying over to your Ravens. I think that would have made more sense in the long run than to just have like static Raven damage. Because then you would be excited to get that new piece of gear. You'd be excited to get poison charms, etc. There would be some like modicum of thrill. It's like, oh yeah, I got this new piece of gear, and so now all those stats are now basically shared between me and my summons. Same can be said for necromancers, but I guess would be to a lesser extent, because necromancers have summon masteries and whatnot, which gives them kind of a distinct advantage over druids in terms of summoning. Okay, I have to go back and get my mercenary. He's missing out on experience, and he needs that experience to level.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning to you too, Deckard. It seems you and I
Hail to you, champion.
quite alike. Good old Deckard Cain and myself are not too different, I would assume.
Hail to you, champion.
Yes, I often slip into Deckard Cain, or in some cases I have been known to even use the Godfather. What is his name? It'll come to me in a second. Just give me 2 seconds here. Marlon Brando. I've also been known to do that too. People say, what do you mean Marlon Brando? It's like, have you watched the original Godfather? Watch the original Godfather. You'll know what I'm talking about. And he sits there and he's like, you are here on the day of my daughter's wedding. And I welcome you to the family. And I will grant you one request. And then, next thing you know, you find out that, hey, Frankie over there is a really good boy. He's a really good guy. You You know, he's young. You gotta show him the ropes, but he's a good kid, you know. And that's kind of what you have to do. Kinda have to treat him with kid gloves or whatever. Well, there's an art room about that. I got an art room. Now, if it was a professional wrestler, it would be Randy Orton. Ooh, I should probably go get the waypoint in this city. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. I don't want to defeat 2 acts in a row. I mean, whoa! It's a lot of people. It's also a lot of voltage. Right there is a burning soul. It's burning with the question, what do I do after this? When I've run out of ideas. But nah, I goof around. I goof around a lot. I would say don't take anything I say, for granted. It's, most likely a joke, but at the same time, here I was talking about politics earlier, and it's like, wait a minute, I want them to take that seriously, because that's true. It's like, where do you come up with a joke, and where do you... Ooh, a Thol rune, I need that. I need that for, tier Tal Thol? Tier Ralfo? One of the two. I think it's becoming Insight? I think it is. I'll have to find out. Oh, that axe is kind of poo. I mean, it might sell good, but... Where are you? Here, visual. That's the other thing I don't like about Diablo 4. Not to come back around to that. Is Diablo 3 and Diablo 4, they were basically recycling old villains, and it's like... Blizzard, you're going down the, season 3 of a drama show. You're recycling villains. Don't do that. Like Kingdom Hearts ended up having to recycle the villain 3 times. Well, I'm aiming for all of the fandoms to be upset. I've already badmouthed One Piece. I've already badmouthed, Kingdom Hearts. All I gotta do is badmouth Naruto. Believe it. And don't worry, I was not a Naruto fan either, so not much of a shock there, I don't think. Run times are too long. That's what it is. The run times are way too long for a series. The reason why I give Case Closed kind of a pass for having a long runtime, and you might agree with me on this. Even though the original plotline for Case Closed is pretty much dead and gone, no one really knows. The thing about Case Closed is they have little one-off episodes. Like, every couple of episodes, it's here's a murder mystery, here's 2 episodes to figure out who done it, and then you move on. So it's like having these little tiny bite-sized miniseries in a video or in an episode. So that I give it a pass because it has nothing to do with the overall arcing plot line, but you can just kind of sit down and watch a 2-episode whodunit, and then you're on your way. You don't have to watch 1,100 episodes of plot line and story arcs. There's Visual. I didn't do an Visual. Well, if this is any indicator of how long it's going to take to kill Diablo. And just think, Bale even has more life than that. There you go, Razan. Sometime later.
I can't carry anymore.
Oh, that's because I'm overloaded with garbage. That makes sense.
I have no pity for him. Oblivion is his reward.
Ah, yes. Thank you for the +2 skill points I can't quite use yet. That's just great. Thanks, Tyrael. Thank you so very much. I know that there's going to be people in the comments being like, "But you can use them. You could just point and click them in." Oh, that's not the purpose of this challenge. I'm going to consolidate gems. I will do so off camera because it's going to take forever to do. And I don't want to bore everybody into tears. I'm just going to look up rune words too. Me too. That needs to not get anything in it. That's the problem. Let me go back down there and grab that Gothic shield real quick. How to be Gothic. That's a bit of a Gothic shield it is. Not like I wouldn't mind one myself. Frost Nova when struck. Increased block rate. I mean...
What do you need?
Enhanced defense.
What do you need?
It's not bad. Definitely could be worse. Oh, 4% mana steal, poison damage, bow and crossbow skills. It's a shame I'm not an Amazon. Although, admittedly, that is kind of poo. That is going to do it for this episode. It ran a little long, ran 48 minutes. That's fine. That's fine. I had to finish Act 3, Act 4, and I had to go kill Visual. Next episode, though, we're going to go out, and we're going to try to finish Act 4 in the next episode. But I hope everybody enjoyed this. I know I did. I always do. Everybody has a fantastic evening, a wonderful tomorrow, and as always, have a good one.